Sorry.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the spot. And but I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, hello, beekeeper friends. This is the Bee Connection, and I'm glad to have everybody here tonight. We got Spanky. He's going to be not with us tonight. He's got some family things that he's working with. And actually, our guest speaker is in the middle of catching a swarm. You know, what beekeeper would do that and just put off an interview and go catch a swarm, you know? So, you know how it is. It's like a moth to a flame. When someone says swarm, it's I got to go. So
That's right.
Matt's that same way. So that's pretty cool. He said he might send us some pictures throughout the show tonight, and he'll be on just a little bit later. So anyway, Tom, Melissa, what's going on in that bee yard that you guys got?
Well, I guess at least finally it's a little warmed up a little bit today. How about that? So I'll start there. I mean, it's been pretty chilly the last few days. And the overnights have been down about freezing here. So, you know, again, that typical St. Louis or Midwest weather, you know, bouncing back to a slight bit of winter. Not really winter. It'd be a mild winter. I guess it depends on where you're at. If you're down south, that'd be winter. If you're up north, they'd say, hey, this is like summertime, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it was pretty nice today.
So we haven't really gotten the bees this week because it's been too cold.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we haven't done much. The other day when I went outside, they were flying around. There was a lot of orientation flights going on and whatnot.
I did some feeding. I did some feeding at the last couple of yards, put another gallon on everybody. So just keeping them stimulated. I know there's still pollen flowing in here.
The dandelions have finally emerged.
Yep.
So the bees are getting
That's
dandelion.
Yep.
Yeah, why don't you take that question right there, Tom, also?
How long does it take to catch a swarm? That's a really good question. It can be, for me, and I'll tell you my experience. My experience was I have had it to where I've not gotten to catch a swarm that was still hanging on a tree late in the evening, which is probably, to be honest with you, that's probably the most ideal time because bees aren't flying whenever it's getting dark, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's an easy catch or say, it's low to the ground, you don't have to do any kind of, you know, craziness, maybe clip a branch or something like that, put the branch in there, put a lid on it, drive off. That's been the easiest one. So I don't know. I would say probably anywhere from
5 minutes to an hour.
5 minutes to an hour, or sometimes you might have to leave 5 minutes to 2 weeks. That's it right there.
So a lot of times when we have ever caught swarms, we'll go in and catch the swarm, and then we'll put the box on the ground near where the swarm was, and then come back later on in the evening after dark and come pick it up then. That way you make sure you get everybody.
Yeah, that's the way I am. I mean, every once in a while you get a swarm that's it's probably a virgin queen, and you kind of get them in the box, they come back out. You get them in the box, they come back out. That can be very aggravating, but for the most part, you know, sometimes it's really quick. You know, I cut them trees, set it down, and the bees started going down, and she popped up. You know, I put her in the clip, put it in the box, and I walked off. I wasn't there, but maybe 2 minutes, maybe max. So
I mean, sometimes all you need is like a frame of drawn brood comb, and you set it up there, and they just all move onto it, and you're like, oh, cool, put it in the box and go. go home.
Yeah.
Other times they're way up in a tree and you have to get the ladders out and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah.
Yep. Or you can be like Matthew, and he called me up and said that this one's been in a shed for 2 weeks. Or for 2 weeks.
Wow.
2 days, excuse me, 2 days. Been in the shed for 2 days.
Oh,
So-
actually, you got Walter, your brother-in-law, sent you. Tell him about that.
So my brother-in-law Walter actually is a developer, and we're based here out of St. Louis, and that's where his company's based out of. Well, the company he's a CEO of the construction side of it anyway, but he actually has a
family.
Yeah, they build multifamily apartments, condos, things like that. Develop them, build them, run them for 2 years, and then sell them off to somebody that manages them from there. But anyway, they have a project going on in Arizona right now. He sends me a picture here. I guess it was sometime mid-morning that he had just got into Phoenix, Arizona, where this project is at. And he sends me a picture and says, hey, look what I came across. And it was a small, well, actually it wasn't small. It was, I don't know, by the picture, and it's sometimes a little hard to tell. I bet that was every bit of probably 5 pounds of bees that was in there. And they had already drawn out 8 pretty big pieces of comb in there inside of one of his buildings that it's framed up right now. So it's still well under construction up on, I think it was the 3rd story. So he had a guy there that was removing that newly swarmed colony to his building. So they were cutting that out. So that was, again, Phoenix, Arizona. So that was kind of interesting. We've only gotten, I think, 1 call for a cutout here this year, maybe 2. So they were probably already well established from there. But I haven't seen any swarm calls or anything like that, which we don't really generally take as many of them anymore because there's a lot of people out there that'll go out there and just grab them just to grab them. I'm less eager to go out there and chase them down. The swarm anyway. We'll do the cutouts, but we've done quite a few of those. But the swarms,
unless they're like really close to somewhere we don't even bother with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it seems like the weather's starting to break a little bit more, and it's starting to get a little bit more consistent now that we're getting toward the end of March. So most places, I'm guessing, are going to probably start to regulate temperatures a little bit better. So I can imagine that probably any day, here, now that we've gotten out of this little cold snap, I would imagine there'll probably be a lot of colonies starting to swarm because, like I said, when we split 15 of our colonies and we made 13 splits, when we had gone through a bunch of them, we had marked them with tape to know which ones we wanted to pull out of. And at that time, had the weather remained decent flying weather and we not done anything, most of those probably would have had swarm cells in them before too long.
Yeah. And I tell you what, and I can say, everybody in the chat can say this, catching a swarm is so exciting. I mean, it's like you got to get there. You feel like they're going to get away from you. I've left work early because someone's called me because of a swarm. I've left church going to get a swarm, which I hate to say that I've done that, but I have gone and done that also. I mean, it's just so exciting. If you ever get to see a swarm come out of a colony, that's extremely exciting. I mean, the whole process of swarming bees is exciting. And, I'm not quite there. I think Keith probably is down in his apiary in North Carolina. Probably can see some swarms. And I know Matt is because he's down next to the Piedmont area. But these warmer temperatures just now starting, especially this coming week. I believe a lot of people is going to see some swarming coming up.
Oh yeah, we're going to be in the 70s for like the next week at least. So I'm sure things are going to start popping off for here real quick.
Yep.
It seems like whenever colonies are getting ready to build swarm cells or they start to do it, if you're in a bit of a situation where the weather is not cooperating, say it's a rain, you get 1 or even 2 or 3 days of rain, whatever it might be, and they're ready to swarm, or let's just say you get a cold snap where you have 1 or 2 evenings or days that it's a little bit chilly, the bees will kind of hold off, right? And then, so you always pay attention to those days when the colonies are to a point to where they're ready to swarm, or they're really starting to bust at the seams. You have to pay really close attention to them, because when you get that one nice day after a cold spell, a rain day, watch your bee yards, because that's the time, usually sometime between mid to late morning through early afternoon, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, somewhere in there. That's like the prime swarm time, right?
Yep.
So that's when people really need to pay close attention.
I know last year there were a couple rain days that helped us out.
Yeah.
That bought us a little bit of time. And
Yeah.
a few of our hives at 1 yard anyway.
2 years ago, I think we lost a handful of swarms out of our colonies, and I felt like all I was doing was being reactive rather than proactive, and it was frustrating me. And finally, Melissa and I said, okay, when we go through a year, we go through a spring or whatever, we look back on it and say, okay, how did this year go? How are we happy with what took place? What do we want to change? What practices are we going to change up? Or if there's certain things we're going to implement that we may have learned this year, from our failures, mistakes, generally speaking, right? And then from there, that's when we come in and actually make changes to what it is we're doing based upon what our goals are. And that's when we say, okay, we set up some goals for the next coming year and say, okay, we're going to change this, that, and the other. So the year we had all those swarms that I felt like kept coming out of the boxes, we said, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to be a lot more proactive rather than reactive on this. And we really, the last couple of years after that, really have done pretty good. And we haven't had probably minimal, but we really haven't had many colonies swarming, but we keep breaking them down. So and one thing we've done to help curb that a little bit.
Yep. And I tell you what, it's good to keep those gesture boxes around, guys, for these swarms. They're so light. And if you have ones like, say, this lemon tree here, but they say the bees are on that, and you take that gesture box and just like that, they fall down into it, set it down, and man, it's done. That's so easy. A little bit more difficult when you got, a swarm in a tree. But if you can have some equipment ready, just set aside, a little bit of brood comb, some empty frames, man, it makes your life a whole lot easier when you get that call.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anytime we've ever gone on swarm calls, I usually take a few things. I try to get the information beforehand, right, to figure out location, where it's at, how long they think it's been there, because what they say has been there is not always the case, right? How long they think it's been there.
Right.
And then,
how high up it is.
How high up? Give me an idea. Is it the size of a softball, the size of a volleyball, the size of a basketball, the size of a beach ball? Give me an idea. What do you think it is? And then from there, we'll kind of adjust, and to know what type of equipment we need to take and go from there. But one of the things that I always have in there is usually some type of like you said, adjuster nuke box or pro nuke, whatever it might be for those little smaller ones. And at least one or two, they can be old, as long as they smell like old brood. That right there you can set one of those up in a swarm of bees, and they will immediately crawl to that thing like it's their job.
And a queen cage.
And a queen cage. Gotta have that.
Queen cage.
Yeah,
gotta have it.
And it's also good to have a swarm trap up somewhere, right? So if you're not there, if this happens, you've got a trap ready that maybe those bees will go into, and you're not losing your bees, especially when you get some of these more expensive bees like Tom and Melissa has, these hygienic bees. You don't want to be losing those bees.
No, when they hit the trees, you're no longer going to, if your goal is to produce a honey crop, when they hit the trees, you probably kiss part of that honey crop goodbye.
That's correct.
Unfortunately.
So, Tom, out of your hives, how many would you say would swarm a year on you? I mean, they just got too big, too quick, out of a year. How many of your colonies would swarm? What percentage would you say?
Honestly, last year, the only, thinking back, I think we really only had trouble with 3 hives last year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The year before, like I was talking about, that would have been a lot higher,
I mean, and that wasn't even horrible. It was just the one, but yeah, last year it was it was 3 hives, maybe 4 that we were just could not get them from stopping making swarm cells. And then
so I would say this year, if we would have just let the colonies do what they're going to do, we had 15, this was a week ago, 15 different hives that were getting to the point to where I said, if we have good weather within 10 days, I guarantee at least 15 of what I had. And I overwintered about 80. Did we determine it was about 80?
We came out of winter with 80.
Okay, we came out of winter with about 80.
We went into winter, I think, with 98.
Okay, so from 98 to 80. So there's 15 of them that I'm certain that had I not done something, those those would have hit the trees. Definitely like a really early one. Now, given a little bit more time, there were probably several more of them would have done the same thing. But based upon what our goals are and what we're doing, we do feed pollen. And also, I have already fed all of my colonies, or most of them anyway, about 4 gallons. I started off with 2 gallons, then fed another gallon, and then fed another gallon about a week or so later. So I've started feeding roughly about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
About 4 weeks ago. Some of them were a little lighter than I wanted. So that was the main reason, but I was also trying to stimulate them too. So, doing a little 1-to-1 or slightly lesser, and then pollen, you're gonna really force those girls to make things happen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee, what's the thing with swarming down there where you guys are at? I guess you've seen a lot of that, right?
Last year and this year so far, I really hadn't seen none myself. Now, this is usually mid-March is our peak swarm time for the couple years before that. But last year, I caught one swarm, I believe it was, out of a little bush. It was probably, I'd say, a half a mile or so from one of my bee yards. But the queen that was in it wasn't marked, so undoubtedly it wasn't mine, or they flew out with another queen.
Right.
Now, the year before, Renee works about 3 miles from our house, and I set up a swarm box down there, just a little 5-frame nuke. I caught 3 swarms in 3 weeks in the same box.
Wow.
I would catch a swarm, bring them home, put them in a 10-frame, and bring that box right back. Following week, catch another one. I didn't have not one swarm go in a box last year.
And you caught a swarm at the market. He was selling honey. Was that not correct?
I'm trying to remember if that was last year or the year before. But yeah, we had one at the market. During the middle of the market, the lady that puts the market on, she come over and tapped me on the shoulder. She said, "I need your help with something." Okay, what you got? She said, "Come follow me." So I walk over there, and all of a sudden we just stopped, like in the middle of everything. I'm like, "Okay, what are we doing?" And she pointed up, and they had a nice sized swarm up in the tree. Now, I had to wait till the market was over because everybody walking around, but it ended up taking, I was in the back of my pickup truck. I had I think it was a 12-foot extension ladder in the back of the truck. Standing on top of that with about another 12-foot aluminum pole with a bucket taped to the top of that, and still just barely reached them.
Wow.
But we got them.
I tell you what, I mean, I think that year you caught a lot that year that you caught that one at the market, right? Was that correct? If I'm not mistaken.
I think the year before, because I'd called a couple in some of my traps, and I had one fly right in the front yard. I got a old table sitting in the front I'm getting rid of, and I happen to have an empty bee box sitting on it, and they just swarmed right into the box for me.
Yeah, I think Ruth said something about if that mean hive that you got swarms out, she'd like a split off of that colony.
I'll bring her one.
Yeah, I'm sure she said that.
You're gonna get a hand to the back of the head in a second.
Yeah, she's in the other room right now. I think I'm okay. She's babysitting right now. So
she babysitting or is she puppy sitting?
She's puppy sitting. Yeah. We'll show that puppy here in just a little bit. And everybody that's in here right now, I'll just go ahead and say I appreciate the people that donated some money for Ember to get a puppy. She did get her one, and she's very, very excited with it. So we'll show it here in just a little bit. But anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a pretty interesting week. I did some splits, and it's kind of unusual here. Tom and Melissa say they were cool. We was fairly decent weather last weekend, so I got to do some splits. I took those down to Tennessee, my splits, to let them raise queens down there in one of my bee yards. So it's a little warmer, probably more drones down there to make queens with. And actually had a lady with me, Heather Merlett, who's with Hives for Heroes. So she went down and did some splits. It was her first opportunity to get into the bees, and she really got to see the demeanor of the colonies. So I had the first colonies we went to. I said, they got medium temperament, and so she got to kind of see how those bees were. And then we went to the next colonies, and they were hot. That's one of the hottest colonies I got. And there's all in your face. She had one curled over trying to sting her on the suit. So she got to experience that. And then I took her to Tennessee apiary that I've got, and she got to see those, and they're like little babies. They sit there and they look at you, and you can tap your hand on the colony, and they'll move out of the way. And she's like, I didn't know bees were that way. It's like, yeah, I mean, the demeanor of the honeybees can definitely be different in many ways. So, and just like your colonies, Lee, you got some that one it's kind of hot, but the rest of them are fairly decent, right?
Yeah. I mean, when y'all come here, I mean, we went through what I think about 4 different ones, and it wasn't no problem into that last hive. Like I said, that's always my biggest hive too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was last year, no, the year before, I ended up with like 8 medium supers on it total.
Yeah.
And they had every one of them slap full from wall to wall and capped.
Yeah. And that's Heather there. She's with Hives for Heroes, and she also is taking beekeeping class here in Ashe County. So I was glad to have her with me. Don't forget to happy birthday, Dave.
Happy birthday.
And then what did DC say? So we're warming up, DC, right now. We're supposed to hit some of those 70-degree weather days like Tom and Melissa there. And I'm looking forward to it. I've got some splits to do here. But then we're going to hit maybe 2 days of cold weather. So I think if I can hit my splits just right, when those queens come out, they'll be ready to go. So, but I really want to get to 100 hives this year. So a lot of splitting, a lot of queen rearing this year for me. Still want some honey production, catch some sourwood. So, it's going to be a big year for me. I may have a bit more than I can chew, plus building a brand new building for the horizontal hives. So, it's going to be tough, but we'll get through it. And that's what I like about beekeeping is pushing yourself to the next level. You start as a beginner, and then you say, "Ooh, maybe I'll try a split," and you just continue to build on your education and into the beekeeping. And I find it a lot of fun. And it's been my 6th year, and I really want to push my limit as far as I can this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, Amber got that puppy, so now she's, and she's got to help you out, right?
That's
so
right.
There you go.
That was part of the deal, and she agreed to it.
Yeah.
I was even going to make her sign a form, but she automatically agreed to it, so it was no big deal.
Now, I was going to pick on Ricky about that too, because at first he said he told Amber it was too many wild animals in the house. So either the cat or Miss Ruth had to go. The next morning, I'm sitting in the crane at work, and I get a text message, and it's a picture of Amber holding a puppy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is the cat still there or Miss Ruth?
So Lee, my mom called me, and she said, and I told her about was either the cat or the Ruth, and I said, so Ruth's headed to your house to stay from here on out because we can't have too many animals in the house. And she said, boy, you messed up because I'm going to get the best person to help me here around the house. So you really messed up, buddy.
That's
Pretty
right.
much.
Yeah, you talking about some warm weather and everything coming. You talking about getting maybe in the 70s?
Yeah, about 70s. Yeah.
Starting Saturday here, I believe Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be in mid 80s.
Oh man.
And then we'll drop back into the 70s a little bit for a few days.
Yeah, I don't want to see any of those temperatures. Y'all can keep that down there right now.
Yeah, I just dread like end of July, beginning of August, man. We 102, 103, heat index like 115.
No.
And walking out just in a t-shirt's bad, but then you're trying to put a bee suit on at the beginning to middle of July, try to pull all your honey off. It's rough down here.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine.
Probably because of the humidity as well, right? The humidity is probably crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you don't even have to have the suit on, and you'll be drenched in sweat, and then that suit just sticks to you after that.
Yeah. So Lee, do you try to get? I know they say like 10 to 12 is, or 10 to 2 is the best time to get in your bees. Do you try to get in earlier into the bees down there because it's so much warmer?
I try to either earlier in the morning between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock lunch or whatever.
Right.
before the sun really hits. But if I get in it before 9, the way the woods are behind my property, the sun will be directly on the hives.
Mm.
So
Right.
usually 9 or 10 o'clock, it's moved around just enough. I got some shade there.
Yeah. She must have been listening.
Yeah, I have to say, Lee, with your bees, I think that you will be fine if you wear bathing suit.
I tell you what, you wear one with me and we'll both go out there.
As
You didn't see
gentle
me
as your bees are, you'll be fine.
I have worked at a hive before, though, with, just a t-shirt on.
In a bathing suit?
No. I always wear pants.
This
I
is-
don't care how hot it is. I don't go in shorts hardly ever.
Yeah.
But I have worked at a hive in just a t-shirt and no veil before, but then I've worked it in just a veil.
Uh-huh. So here's Amber's new puppy to get her to get into the bee colony with me. Yeah, she's teeny tiny, it's a little Dotson.
She's cute.
Yeah.
What did y'all name her? Or what did you name her?
We named her Bella.
Bella?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a cutie.
Yeah. Now I've got me an extra beekeeper, so
Yeah.
And you remember to go to sleep at the doghouse.
I'm sleeping in the doghouse tonight. Hey, Tom, I'm coming to your house tonight, brother. Yeah.
I think you better get that lady something special so you can sleep in your own bed.
I agree. 100%.
Right. So
Maybe-
how's Lee feeling since his injury? How everybody probably wants an update on how Lee's doing.
I'd say I'm back to about 90% right now. I'm walking a little decent, still trying to climb up in the crane. I don't push on that sore leg. I'm using my other leg and just taking one step up at a time. But
Yeah,
I'm hoping another week or so and I'll be back to 100%.
that's good.
You got to get better because Lee, I'm planning on you and Tim and Hannah coming up here and during the summer and having a little cookout where it's cool and nice and not all that humidity, buddy.
Oh, come on. You don't want South Louisiana or South Alabama in the summer?
No, you guys can keep that.
Yeah, DC, I wish I could stop hurting myself. That kind of comes with age.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
that's for sure.
Somebody brought it up the other night. This little furry thing right here is kind of black and gray. I kind of matched that.
I noticed that. That's funny. Yes, sometimes you don't intentionally. Obviously, you're usually intentionally hurting yourself. But when you get a little older, it just kind of comes, right? Just sneaks up on you somehow. Something happens, and next thing you know, you got some aches and pains for a couple days.
Yep.
Or in your case, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, you don't move quite as good as you used to, but I've been losing quite a bit of weight since last summer, so I thought maybe I could do a little bit more and just push too hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, see, in your head, you're still 20.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Catch up on these comments.
Yeah.
So, hey, Ricky, how many colonies are you coming out of winter with right now?
So I lost the log hive. I don't know if you remember me when Randy come on and I talked to him about that log colony that I had gotten that someone had sawed down.
Oh,
I just lost it. I put sugar on top of it, and they eat all the sugar off, and I thought they were good to go. And I put a pollen patty on that colony, and when I went back, I think it was last week, I checked it, and there wasn't no bees in it. So with that loss, and I lost another nuke. I don't know what happened to that one. I'm down to 28 right now.
Yeah. Well, and you're trying to get to 100. So, I mean, if you go by that kind of rule of thumb that Bob Benny uses, and it seems pretty logical the way he explains that, you can increase, every year, split it 3 times, or I guess 2 times. So you end up with, 3 times what you had.
Yep. Yes, that'll get me close to probably 90. And then with the queen rearing that I'll be doing and those tiny houses that we had Karen on here with, I believe I'm going to make probably 40 of those little colonies.
Yeah.
To do some queen rearing in them. So I think I can push up pretty quickly because those colonies are going to be really small, and maybe I can get them up to nuke size by the end of the year is what I'm hoping for.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think even you'd have a pretty good time doing it. I don't ever have any issue overwintering nukes. And if it's to a point where a nuke is almost ready to move out, but I'm getting so close to winter,
Yeah.
I just buy them a little bit of extra time inside that box, and I leave them in there, even if I'm double stacked. And honestly, I've actually sent some into winter triple stacked with the 2 top boxes, mostly full of whether it's a honey and or maybe a mixture of sugar feed, what have you. And again, we've had a good luck and good success, kind of creating that chimney effect, rather than them working out, in a box going this way, moving up and down is really easy for them in the wintertime. All they got to do is slowly move that cluster going up rather than shifting over a couple frames if it's just a small cluster. So,
it keeps that heat area they got more compact to the center versus having to go with something wide.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now, I believe it was 2 years ago, I bought a 5-gallon bucket of the Man Lakes winter patty and put on some of the hives, and they seem to do pretty good on that.
Yeah.
But last year and this year, I hadn't done no feeding.
None at all?
Nope. None.
So are you saying that you didn't feed any syrup, or you didn't feed any dry, or either?
Either one.
Really? And
I got about a half of a 40-pound bag of the dry sub left in a freezer that I didn't put out last year or this year.
Yeah.
Didn't put out any sugar syrup or nothing, but I did leave some honey on them.
Okay.
Over the winter.
Yeah. Well, that'll save you a little bit then, not having to buy any of those, syrup, fondant packs, any of that stuff,
The only problem with that, I am out of honey right now versus pulling that honey and putting sugar water on that's cheaper than honey.
Yeah.
I could have made a profit on it, but I left the honey on there, and I still got some honey on there. I got a couple of hives that still got 4 supers on them right now that were full. So I need to get out there and try to get them pulled as soon as I'm getting around 100%. And then I did go out there this past Sunday and start putting supers on already.
Yeah.
On some of the other colonies.
So some of those colonies that you have supered up, what you said 4 times, you said?
Yeah.
That stuff, honey. Are you planning on pulling those here and doing a harvest on them at some point in time, or what's your goal with that?
I'll probably pull them. I try to keep my honey separate. All my buckets are red 5-gallon food grade buckets, but I have different color lids. I got white, yellow, and orange, and that kind of. I try to somewhat separate my honey. My light spring colored honey, I'll put a white lid on. Summer tallow, I'll put a yellow lid, and then my fall darker honey, we get a lot of goldenrod down here.
Yeah.
I'll put that orange lid. That way I know what time of the year that come from.
Okay.
But last year we didn't really get a spring flow. Our privet did got froze out, and then we had that late freeze that messed up a lot of our tallow too.
Yeah.
So on the years that I do get a little bit different honey, I will try to keep it separated because some people like the lighter honey versus the dark honey.
Oh yeah,
especially Renee. She loves the light colored honey. It's a lot sweeter.
Me too.
I prefer the dark honey, that more bold flavor.
Yeah. I like that. I like that sweet flavor. I don't want it to just be nothing but sweet. I want it to have a flavor to it. So ours is more like probably a mixture of clover, our light stuff, clover, like white Dutch, and maybe even some mixture of the
black locust.
Yeah, the black locust. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say a lot of our light colored honey, it was probably a lot of it in my area is going to be privet, but we'll have some white Dutch clover in it.
Yeah.
And then come summertime, more of that amber color honey. It'll be a lot of the tallow.
Okay. So tallow has more of an amberish color to it.
Yeah. It's going to be darker than spring, but it's not going to look like no goldenrod or buckwheat. It don't look like burnt motor oil.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys typically get a pretty good flow in the fall off of your goldenrod?
Some years we do, some years we don't. Past couple of years, we didn't really get much.
That sounds just like
we
us.
had 1 year was too dry, 1 year was too wet.
Yeah. Yeah, there kind of has to be that perfect medium where there's enough moisture in the soil for that plant to produce some nectar. Maybe they'll get a little bit of pollen off of it, right? But maybe it's just not enough for it to release that nectar inside there too. So, but for us, it's the same way, Lee. We haven't had the last 2 years.
We had really good goldenrod last year, but it was too dry. It didn't produce any nectar.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
see it popping and starting to bloom, but it quickly. I was watching the color of the blooms when it goes from that bright yellow and starts to fade out. I'm like, it's not there's no way it's producing nectar. That bloom's drying up, you know.
We just had too much of a drought here last year. Now the year before was too wet, but then let's see, I think it was the end of 21. We had a pretty decent flow that year.
Yeah. So I was talking with a gentleman that I know that's in South Georgia, that I've known for maybe 4 or 5 years, and he does pollination, and he was actually building some nukes for us. Now, I just reached out to him the other day and said, hey, just curious what the weather's like down there in South Georgia. How's everything looking? And he said that they've had some rain and some cooler temperatures down there. And he said queens are a little bit slow to come out when everything started off early, right? And then it kind of slowed down just a little bit. And he actually said that the tai. So is that, I'm not familiar with that. That's a southern plant. And then I don't know, is that something that you're familiar with, Lee? The tai?
Nah, that one I'm not sure about.
No. So I'm not sure where that grows. So maybe if anybody in the comments knows exactly anything about tai, drop some comments in there. Let us know about that. I don't know much about it myself, but he said that they generally get a really good flow off of tai. And he said it was almost non-existent this year because of the cooler weather, just those plants not releasing the nectar, you know, or maybe causing those blooms not to open up all the way, or, you know, again, maybe they opened up, but they started to dry back because not having the right temperature too.
And I'll tell you something else. You guys are talking about the goldenrod. Here in North Carolina, we have several different varieties. Oh, that's pretty. Several different varieties of goldenrod. And I think only 2 or 3 of the species actually produce honey or give nectar off. So I think where I live at, I got tons of goldenrod. I just don't think it's the kind that produces any honey with it.
You can still get pollen off of it though, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Talk about the grapevines.
Yeah, Gunline says we have plenty of tai. You should. I just lost. You should. Yeah, you should have a ladder on your place, Lee.
I'm trying to look at the plant here, and it just don't look familiar to me. Not to say that we don't have it.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes the ground is can change from one area to the next, and you know, as far as the composition, soil composition, and you might, you know, in one area be able to get a good flow on a certain plant, right? And you move even 15 or 20 miles down the road, and it can change quite a bit, just because soil composition changing. You know, and I don't know much about where you are all at down south, if it's pretty consistent or if that changes a lot. Because right here in the Midwest, we can get a big variety of, you know, our soils can change very rapidly from one area to the next. And that'll change even sometimes the color of a nectar from the same plant. I've seen it before, you know, so everything is so localized, right? Like we've talked about before, so localized.
I really think the rain makes a big difference in the crops. You know, you got, like you guys was talking about before, not too much rain, but you can't be that dry rain. It's kind of got to be in the middle for everything to work out just really good. And a lot of times we get those late afternoon thunderstorms. I think those are the best because you get that good rain that soaks in during the night, get up the next morning, and things just pop.
Yeah.
You beat me to that one. I was just about to click it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. And the asters here are really good. I love the flavor of the asters honey, but if it mixed in with that goldenrod, it crystallizes really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I try to keep most of my honey separated as far as like light color, dark color, and all that. The apiary up the road, the commercial apiary, I'll say commercial. That's all they do for a living. They run about 500 hives, but they just blend everything together. It don't matter if it's spring, summer, or fall.
Now, Lee, when you have that honey capped like that, like those 4 supers that you was talking about, when you go to spin those out, do you ever come across a frame that's crystallized underneath the cappings, or you don't see that really?
I hadn't had a problem with it yet.
Okay, that's curious.
I've noticed. Now I spent them quite a while. I mean, just to make sure everything's out of them. But whether there's a little bit left in there that may have crystallized. I don't look that hard. I just run it about 10 minutes or so, and then I say that's enough.
Now, Tom, do you guys have a lot of honey that crystallizes out there?
Let me think about that for a second. I wouldn't say that it crystallizes extremely quickly. Like, for instance, I have heard, and I don't know much about it, but they produce, up north there, the canola. Yeah, I've heard people say, "Oh, that stuff almost crystallizes in the bottling, tank or in the hoses or lines or whatever in the combs." I would say that ours crystallizes, but it takes a little while for that to happen.
It takes about a month or so.
Yeah, and sometimes even longer, depending on the temperatures, right? So if the temperatures are running 50s or somewhere in there, I think it'll crystallize a little faster than if it was either colder or warmer. But I wouldn't say any of ours is a problem. When we put ours in the food grade buckets, it's 5-gallon food grade buckets. It's easy for us to handle. And honestly, I use a bucket warmer whenever I need to pull a bucket in and put it in the tank. I'll just, get it uncrystallized not all the way, but get it kind of back to a liquid state, then dump it in the bottling tank and then turn it on as low as I possibly can just to uncrystallize it over 3-4 days from there. So, I wouldn't say ours crystallizes quickly based upon what I've heard other people talk about. But it does,
I've found that like my spring honey, whether it be some privet or clover or something like that, it don't crystallize that fast. And my fall honey, the goldenrod, I hadn't had a problem with. But that tallow honey in the late spring, early summer, I find it'll crystallize pretty fast.
Huh.
So this year, the honey we harvested last year, the light honey is crystallizing a lot faster than the dark honey, which I thought that was a little bit interesting because it's usually the opposite.
Yeah, I thought so too. Usually the darker ones that we had would crystallize a little bit faster for sure.
Yeah, Ed's got a good point. Just turn it into cream honey.
We have a lot of cream honey.
Yeah. we did buy that creamer from John Hill. I set it up and put it downstairs. It's not in a specific designated spot yet, but it is set up ready for Melissa to use. But we still had a little bit left from last year, and we really haven't worked hard on pushing anything. So we probably need to get our rear ends in gear and get a couple of a couple more storefronts that we can place stuff in. So move a little bit of volume.
I've got a friend of mine that's got sourwood, and I don't know how some of the other honeys is, but we was talking about sourwood, and he said he's had a jar of sourwood sitting on his front porch for 2 years, and he says never crystallized. He said the only thing it's ever done was got a little darker. And I thought, wow, man, that's pretty incredible.
I say so.
We have some sourwood downstairs from Sweet Harlan, from Jamie and Brandy.
They're awesome.
And we've had that for about 2 years. I don't think it's crystallized. And then we have some gallberry downstairs also from Melanie and Dennis Cruz. And they're in Florida, right at the Florida-Georgia line. And we've had that for 2 or 3 years also, and that's never crystallized.
It has been lower than 2 years.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Probably about 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, which is pretty good stuff.
But yeah, all of ours eventually does crystallize.
Yeah.
Now that right there, that's my spring versus my fall. And then I just had a little jar of some pollen that I'd collected.
That looks good. I like your presentation. Cool. That looks really nice. So what are you thinking that your lighter color is there? Is that a mixture, or do you think it's a solo?
I'm figuring it's probably majority privet and clover.
Okay.
And I think I got a jar of your darker honey, and we really enjoyed it, Lee. It was really, really good.
Yeah. And then what I normally do, if you'll notice on the labels, some of them's black lettering and some of them's white.
That's a good idea.
Because I noticed if I put the black labels on my fall honey, you can't hardly see the label.
Yeah.
So I order different color labels depending on which honey it's going on. That way it's still visible.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that looks good. I like how it's really simple. It's got a really nice presentation. And I really like your logo that you have there. That looks really good. It stands out.
Thank you. I actually designed it myself.
You did? Yeah, that looks really good. I like it. It's really catchy. It's your eyes really drawn to it.
And then I come into a little luck. Like I said, right now I'm out of honey. I need to pull some that I know still on the hives, but I know I need them to start making quite a bit of honey because the one farmer's market that I used to go to, I hadn't been down there in a year, but they still buy my honey from me and then resell it.
Oh, okay.
Well, the same lady has started a second market over in Baton Rouge too, so she wants me to supply that one.
Tell the bees they better get busy. You got to make
Yeah.
got to make some money. Got to make some money. You
Yeah.
got to earn your keep.
I keep having people already this year ask me for comb honey. I'm like, comb honey is not coming for at least another 2 months.
Yeah.
You gotta hold up.
We are gonna,
Jonathan, to answer that question there, I've designed when I get better bee to print them. Now I find the labels, they do look good, but they're not very durable. After you kind of touch them a little bit, rub them around, moving, they do wear off fairly easy. Now you was talking about comb honey. As far as like selling the just square combs in a little container, I haven't done that, but I do a couple of the shallow supers before, and I would cut chunk honey out and put it in a jar like this.
oh yeah.
And then I would just finish filling it with honey around it.
Mm-hmm.
And those sold pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's just as attractive, you know what I mean? Because it offers somebody, if they want to, use just the liquid honey, they've got it there, or they want to actually take a bite of the piece of comb, they can, cut a chunk of that off there and have the comb itself too then, right?
Yep.
So this will be our first year doing actual cut comb honey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all doing just
Mason jars with the horizontal, hive that Ricky did for us, and that sold like crazy. But we have some Ross rounds too. We haven't tried them yet. So Tom actually bought me, not this past Christmas, so the Christmas before, the frames that you can put the Ross round cassettes in from from Saracel.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And so we'll try those out this year too.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got a Ross round in, I believe it was a couple of months ago. Blaine, the Texas beekeeper, he won some Ross round frames, the containers, the labels, and everything on one of our live streams a while back.
Yeah.
So once he got the bees to draw it out and everything, he sent me one, and it was good.
So there was an older gentleman that lives near us. He was out of beekeeping. He had been out of it for a long time, and he was just wanted time to take all this stuff. And he had all the Ross rounds, like the cassettes and the frames and everything, but he didn't have the actual box that you have to use, because it's a special size box with the those metal clamps or whatever you want to call them. So he didn't have that, and you can't just order the box. I mean, you can get those little clamp things, but you can't order that box. I'm not going to order a whole kit. And then Saracel came out with these frames. I'm like, well, let's do that and see how that works. So
yeah, it was a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the cut comb,
just one thing.
It's sometimes easier, they say, just to let the bees draw their comb out naturally. But putting them in the shallow that I did, they didn't want to go in there and really draw it out straight. So what I did, I went through Better Bee, and they got the cut comb foundation that you could buy. It's real thin, natural wax. And basically you drop that in there and they just start building straight off of that.
Yeah,
I mean, they had it done quick.
Yeah, that was kind of our plan to do. Because we have a bunch of that thin surplus that we got with all that Ross round stuff. So we were going to try to weld that into a frame, and not the whole sheet, but just like a starter strip of it. Weld that into a frame and see how they go.
They done good on mine.
So Carl said where was it? You said you already have a waiting list for your cut comb already, Carl? Is that what you said? Go
up higher than that.
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
We have a list with at least 150 pounds sold already. Is that like a waiting list for cut comb that you're talking about? That's amazing. I hope your bees produce it for you.
Know, right?
I hope you have a really good honey flow.
I hope we all do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about you, Tom and Melissa, but I think this cooler weather holding things back. I really think it's going to be a good spring because our maples we have some maples that have bloomed out, but we got some maples that still ain't. So it's giving plenty of honey and nectar and pollen still coming in, and the bees are really building up good, even though it's cold. So I think it's going to be a good spring.
Yeah, I was a little concerned because it seemed like that collectively, all of us were talking about how, man, it's really early this year. The weather has been really warm this into winter. Man, what are we going to do? I feel like it's going to come back and bite us in the rear end because what's going to happen is we're going to have a cold snap right at the wrong time, and it's going to kill our nectar sources, and we're all going to be, just kind of bummed out by it. But It seems like somehow, some way, we've had just a slight delay on stuff, and it's kind of starting to put it right back in the right time frame, so I hope that kind of remains true with no crazy rain days. We need rain, of course, but nothing crazy. Good fly days, but good moisture, just that perfect mix so we can all build a nice honey crop this year and talk about it for years to come, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
That was our problem last year. That weather started getting real nice. People started doing splits down here, started feeding, trying to get them to produce brood early, and then we got that late cold snap.
Yeah. Do you remember when that cold snap came in and messed you all up?
To be honest, no. I'd have to go back through some papers to see if I could find it.
Yeah.
But according to the Farmer's Almanac, we're not supposed to get that late freeze this year. So hopefully we're good.
Yeah, fingers crossed there.
So Shannon Lyons said that they're gonna try that simple comb, which is interesting system. I'm curious to see how that works out. I've heard some people who have tried cropping it are having a little bit of issues getting it to stay in the frames.
Yeah, stay closed in the frames.
However, I'm not completely sure how all that system works, but I've heard some people are having some issues that they're pretty frustrated just getting it set up.
Yeah, if the frame ain't exactly the right size, it won't stay in right.
Okay. Ricky, you said you got some of that, correct?
No, I didn't get any of those. I wanted to, and I don't know if I just didn't get over or what, but I wanted to get some of those and try them out, but I didn't. So
no, okay.
Anybody that's got them, Shannon, let us know how that turns out. I'd like to hear a little bit more about how it works.
I know the Cruz has got some, and Dennis was having an issue getting them in his frames.
Yeah, a little bit.
So it'll be interesting to see. He's got it now, but
yeah, might just be a bit of a learning curve. I don't know. Sometimes if you a little learning curve on something, once you get it down, it's just like easy peasy for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I know at the Bee Expo, and then last year at the Slidell Bee Alive Expo Bee Conference, on the simple comb table, they had some measurements written down there that said it would only fit this size frame.
Okay. I remember seeing them down there in Slidell last year. I remember looking at it because I almost thought about buying enough to do a box. I'm like, I don't know. And I just didn't want to just jump on anything, because we really hadn't gotten our cut comb stuff in processed last year. We were wanting to do it, but we didn't. And I bought a couple more boxes this year and got some things. I bought some special frames from the gentleman. There was an older gentleman from Tennessee. I can't remember his name, and I have his business card somewhere. I bought several.
He was wearing like a top hat. He almost looked like the steampunk. He was by where the muffins were, and all the muffins. If you went down that aisle by Cowan.
Yeah, near
so
Cowan.
Muffins, Cowan, and he was right on the other side of Cowan, across the aisle from Cowan.
He was a good old boy from Tennessee.
Super nice
guy, and I ended up buying a bunch of frames from him.
Now I gotta go
because they have a real thin top bar on them and stuff. Perfect for doing the cut comb. So I haven't gotten any thin surplus in there yet. We have it, but I was thinking about just doing. So I've heard people talk about it many different ways. I've heard people say just to do a strip in the top. Some people say put the whole sheet in, let it hang. I've heard everybody talk about it in different ways that they use it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try it, see how it works out.
Mm.
You know.
Well, the frames that I had for as far as just making my cut comb, like I said, I used the shallow boxes, and the frames were the wedged frames. So you could pop that top wedge out. I would lay the wax foundation in there, and then I got a little brad nailer that I would just tack a couple of across the top to hold that wedge in, and it would
Yeah.
hold the wax foundation up for them.
Okay. So Philip Morris says Skipper Luttrell. That's it. I'll tell you what, Melissa was going to.
I was getting
find
at
it.
the program to find it.
He was a nice fella. He was just one of those good old boys, you know, and just a genuine guy. I love talking with him. And when I seen those, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try these. I'm like, I'm going to buy enough for all my boxes that I needed. And I think I had, I don't know, I think I had 10 boxes. So for mine, I needed 80 of them since I'm doing 8-frame stuff. So, yeah.
Y'all have all 8 frame?
With the exception of the horizontal hives, and we have 2 Apame hives.
2 10-frame Apames, and I have 2 7-frame Apames that currently are all divided in half with splits in right now. So I really like that 7-frame Apame. Now, I don't have a lot of use in it, but the whole idea around it, I really like that. So I may end up in the future getting more for making splits on. It's a convenient system. I can do 3 frames in there. And then when I get a mated queen, I can throw one of the deep supers on, give them 3 more frames. And from there, when they start building most of it out, I can put them into a nuke and then go into an 8-frame from there.
Was it this 777 apiary?
I think that might've been a 777 apiary. If that's right, I think Philip Morris is the one that had given his name. If that's correct, just give us a thumbs up there, or Skipper. I think that was what the name of his company was, though. I know I've got his card around here somewhere, though. Yeah, he is definitely a cool guy, man. He's just a real eclectic. That hat, you know, you look at it, it's like, man, that's one heck of a hat. I couldn't pull that off, but he pulls it off well. Just the nicest guy you ever meet. So did any of you all find anything special at the Bee Expo that you had purchased, or something that you'd never seen before, or something that you were so interested in when you seen it there? Kind of like a first time deal?
You know, Apame had some frames. I don't know if people have seen their plastic frames, and they kind of come apart.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never seen those before. And I got to talking to Hank, one of my buddies that's with Apame, and we started talking. He said it's great for catching swarms because you can just take that frame and collapse it in, and then you've got that comb kind of wedged in there.
Yeah.
So I bought several of those just for some cutouts, because sometimes you know how it is, Tom. You get a small layer of comb and it just doesn't attach right. Yeah, there you go. That's what I got.
Yeah, it's a plastic frame and it comes apart in the center. It's probably kind of hard to see with the lighting in here because I don't have it super bright, but they pop apart there. Let's see if I can get it apart real easy. I'll probably bust it or something.
They had them in North Carolina and they just went and just snapped them apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they told you could put plastic or wax foundation in them.
Yeah, that's what he told us, that you could put plastic or wax. Oh, there you go. I haven't. I actually pulled them all out on any of the Apame stuff that I had gotten. I just pulled them all out and just used my wooden frame with the plastic foundation, and I was using the Premier stuff. And then there's a gentleman.
I'm gonna whack him in the face.
She's fixing it out here. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but we're gonna get ready to get it on video here. So,
Tom, she's got all the muscles, man. What's up with that? She just snaps it right apart.
Weak here. Must have had too rough of a day out there. She did come by, though, when I was out with the guys working, and she called me and said she was running around running some errands, and said, hey, when we come by and pick you up? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, you want to just go with me the rest of the day? And I'm like, I do, but I've got a new guy that I'm training, and I'm like, I probably best stay out of the field today. So she took me out for lunch anyway. How about that?
Hey.
I didn't really want him with me the rest of the day because I was Easter shopping, and if he's with me, I wouldn't have been able to spend as much money as I did. Yeah. So
when I got home, though, I looked at, because we have a lot of nieces and nephews and stuff. We buy them a lot of stuff, right? And she had the whole back of her Explorer full of stuff, and we get here and she's building all these little Easter basket things and all that. And I'm like, well, I know what I went to work for today. So there's that.
As like Brian Zavada from Flower Street Farms, he went to the expo this year by himself, but his wife was meeting him in New Orleans for the I think it was the American Bee conference.
Oh yeah.
And so he was spending some money up there at the expo, and his wife Jen kept on saying, "Well, I kept on seeing the things come through the bank account." He's like, "Yeah, but you didn't see all of it." Well, the thing was, on his way to New Orleans, we told him don't take all that equipment to New Orleans in the back of his truck, all nice, new, and shiny. It wasn't going to be there when he come out of the hotel.
Yeah.
So he swung by my house and dropped everything off, and then went to New Orleans.
Right.
Well, after both of them left New Orleans, they stopped back by here to do a live, and we was talking about everything he bought, and he said, "Nah, she ain't seen it all." I said, "Well, she's about to, because we got to get everything back out of the shed and load up in your truck while she's watching."
Yeah.
So Shannon says she bought the queen introduction cage from Better Bee. I was thinking about getting that. I still might order it. I haven't decided yet, but I don't know if everybody watches Fred Dunn. It wasn't last week, I think, but maybe the week before. I don't know. His videos meld together for me. He was using it in another way, or suggested with catching swarms. To get, because so many swarms abscond sometimes, is getting the queen on a brood frame. And actually, he used that swarm catcher thing that you put on the pole.
On the pole.
We have one of those somewhere too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that you put the brood frame on to get the bees to walk on it, and putting that into that queen isolation cage and leaving her trapped in there for a few days so she can start laying on that brood comb before you release her. So there's another way to use that queen isolation cage. I thought to use it for queen rearing, to put the queen in there with empty comb to lay on, and then you've got the right age larvae when you go to harvest. Yep, that's it.
That's it right there.
I think Better Bee makes the 1 frame and they make a 2 frame version.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that could be a really handy tool to have in your operation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're looking for it. They had an isolation cage, but then they had an introduction cage too. It says.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, they had the separation in the little bars were just a slightly larger and smaller based upon what goal you were looking toward.
Okay. Yeah, see, they got the deep isolation, a medium isolation, and then a 2 medium, so it's 2 wide.
Right.
Okay.
So this is what I picked up for introducing my queens with.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
It's like a big, what are those called? California cages, those boxes. That's like a big version of it.
Yeah. Pop your queen in this section right here, and she can go in here, and gives a little bit more room to get in with the bees.
Yeah. Now, what's on top of that, Rick? You hold that back up there again. I see a little metal tab. Is that to release?
That's the final release. Yep.
Yep. You just pop that open and let her do their thing.
Now, who was selling that? That's cool.
There's a couple of companies selling this now that I've noticed it. This I got at the Davy Crockett bee conference, and the older guy that was making these, he said that if you had a good queen and they really liked her, they'll build white comb down on the bottom of this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you know that they pretty much accept her at that point.
That's what I was paying attention to when we put those mated queens in the splits that we had made a week ago, I guess. No. Was it a week ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, a week ago.
A week and a day.
Week and a day. Is I was looking for, and I didn't put any of the, Bob Benny has a video where sometimes if you want to slow introduce a queen, depending on the candy inside there, if it's a little bit harder, that sometimes might buy an extra portion of a day or a day. But if it's really soft, sometimes they can chew that out within a day and a half. So, the consistency of that makes a big difference. But he also said what you can do is put some really cheap, just some masking tape on it, and then take a nail for like a frame nail and poke a little hole in the top just to give them a starter point to actually get in, and that sometimes will buy you an extra day or so as a slow introduction. But what I had done is I just put the queens in there and said, you know what, we'll just see what happens. This is the earliest I've ever made splits here in St. Louis, and we'll kind of go from there. Well, I went in there the other day when I was waiting for Melissa to come out for us to head out, I went and threw my jacket on, ran down there, popped the tops on a few of them just to peek in. And I seen that I only went into 5 of them. 3 of the 5 were already released. The other 2 were almost out. But what I noticed on each one of them, like you just said, Ricky, was they actually had comb, white comb that they were already starting to draw and attach it to the frames and kind of draw around it. Nothing significant in 7 days, but with the stimulation of feeding and seeing that on there, I'm like, I don't have a problem. So the last 2 queens I seen in those 5 that I pulled out, I just went ahead and popped the tops. And then I wiped my finger across the cage. There was nothing aggressive whatsoever. So I let her walk down inside of the thing and said, for me, this was a little bit of an experiment because it's still pretty early in St. Louis, but
and he didn't record any of it for me.
No, it was on a whim. It was starting to get later. I was waiting for her. We were going to head out. I'm like, I threw my bee jacket on and I just couldn't wait. I ran down there and popped the tops. I didn't even use, I didn't use smoke or anything, right? Because I didn't want to cause any disturbances. So went down there and popped them open and checked them out. So hopefully we have 100% success, but we'll see what happens. I'll have to go through. Around what temp? So let's see. When I made those splits last week, help me remember that.
It was in the 60s when we made the splits.
Yeah, so it was warm, but we had a couple of days.
It was going to be cool the next few days.
Yeah, it was going to be cool.
Like freezing at night.
But barely freezing, though.
Like for a few hours.
So most of my splits that I made a bunch of 3-frame.
And then when he released the queens the other day, it was probably like in the 50s.
High mid 50s. Yeah. So I didn't keep them open long, but I did put a lot of. I did put a good solid 2 frames of brood in there, and then 1 good frame of honey. And then I shook an extra shake of bees into each one of those boxes. So I basically crowded them, and knowing that I'd have to come back fairly quickly and give them a little bit more room before they swarm. Right. Just trying to keep them a little bit warmer in a really, really confined space. And
so probably next week, honestly, because we put so much cat brood in those, we probably need to move them all or give them all second stories.
I'll check them all on Saturday to see my acceptance and make sure it was good. That way I've given them a good solid 7, 8, 9 days, 9 days since I've introduced them. Yep. So, but at that point, there should be starting to become somewhat cohesive at that point, I would imagine.
So Russell said he bought some of the Pura boxes. We have some people in St. Louis that bought those. So I'm interested to see how well they propolize those up and what happens with those.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else got anything at the expo that they're working on? Something new, somebody in the chat, something new that you guys bought that you're trying out to see how well it works?
Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff there. I'd be curious to see.
Some people brought Brian's Queen Right dial, which I'm interested in that too, but I just want one that I can like put a magnet on and stick it on my back door because I do all my queen rearing at the house, and that way it'll help me keep on track with what I'm doing. So we'll order one soon, Brian.
Yep.
I think they gave some away on the live last night, didn't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Yeah, they gave quite a bit of stuff away too, actually. Brian said he's bottling his bourbon honey tomorrow.
We just secured 4 barrels, so we can start our second batch.
They're big barrels, though. So they're the 55-gallon drum barrels, which is bigger than I wanted to handle. But I went ahead and took them, and the guy gave me a good deal to take all 4 of them. So I did. And then I called my buddy who does the metal fabrication, who built me that stand. So I take a barrel, I spin it on the side and put it on this basically like it's a metal, I don't want to call it a rack, but it's got rollers on it so I can spin a barrel. And this, I'm telling you, this thing will hold a VW car. So I just called him the other day and said, hey, I just bought 4 barrels. I only have 1 stand. How quickly can you pump me out another stand? And he said he'd get on it here right away for me. So it's good to have great friends, right? That are really talented in different areas. Yeah, well, Carl says I love it that I'm not playing around. I have a good feeling that this is going to work out well. But again, it was a little bit of an experiment. I was under some good guidance. Jim Masucci, I might have mentioned to him here before, a really talented beekeeper, and a newer friend that I've had over the last year, but a really knowledgeable guy. Worked in research with Monsanto for a number of years, and recently retired. So he was going to be doing it. So I said, hey, you know what? You've been doing this far longer than I have. I said, if you have great confidence in it, then I'm going to try it too. And he said, well, if I don't do something quickly, he goes, bees are going to be hitting the tree. So I said, yeah, I've got about 15 boxes and needed to do it too. So we'll see how this works out, Carl. I'll probably be getting into them on Saturday, I think. It's supposed to be nice after I do a little.
No, you're not going to be able to Saturday. We have to hand out packages.
Yeah, I'll do it in the afternoon. So I want to get into them and check them out. So we'll see what happens. This must be the swarm he caught.
Yeah, that's the swarm that Matt just called. Just got it to his bee, you already said.
Cool. Did he say how many frames of bees he had coverage in there with that swarm, or how large?
He hasn't said. Hopefully he'll be here in just a second.
Okay, good deal.
I don't think there's any experts here tonight, though.
No, we're just practicing. We're just learning.
We're learning. That's why we have these chats, so we can talk to a lot of people and do a little bit better with it.
Yep.
So definitely not a expert by no means. So I just enjoy beekeeping, enjoy talking to beekeepers. So
yeah. Matthew said it's 3 pounds. So basically a package.
Yep. That's pretty cool. I mean, for this time of year, 3 pounds is pretty good.
I agree. Yeah, 3 pounds is not bad. I mean, that'll make basically 5 frames of pretty good bee coverage with 3 pounds.
Yeah. Now, before Matt gets on here, I'm going to tell you, I talked to him at the North Carolina conference, and he was talking about not having as many hives this year. That he was going to, kind of tone down just a little bit, and you can see that I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not working out well for him, right?
He's not starting off the right way.
He's going in the wrong direction if he wants to tone down.
Yeah.
Now, he did buy a new horizontal hive off of me, so if he wanted to, he could just slide that right into that horizontal hive in one of the chambers, and he'd be golden, be done.
Yeah, definitely. He said, shh.
Yeah, so if you guys want any of those dolls that Brian's got, I think those are going to come in handy because I'm the kind of person, I don't keep very good notes. I might mark on my boxes, but with those dolls, I think that's going to be really good. I'm definitely going to get me some.
Yeah, I agree. Those will help a lot of people out in a lot of ways. Just become more organized in so many ways.
Yep.
Especially new beekeepers, that you haven't quite figured everything out yet or whatnot.
Definitely.
When you start getting past the 30 hives that I've got, you start forgetting what you're doing on the hives. You need something to give you a little more information.
Yeah, most definitely do. Yeah.
DC, if you guys ever get a chance to go to DC's channel, look at his setup. This guy, he's got his hives looking awesome. I kind of makes me feel bad after looking at his hives. They look great.
He's just motivation for you. That's what it is. You need to have people that, are doing better than where you feel you want to be at, right? So they give you that motivation. So that's why we're all sharing out here, so that we all win in our own way, right?
That's correct. Yeah. I definitely want to strive to have my hives looking the way he's got his up. He babies them. He's got them wrapped. He's got covers over everything. Oh, it's nice.
I guess that means you need to split away from your day job so you can do that, right?
Hey, hopefully my wife is listening to that one completely.
Hey, Ruth, let Ricky off the hook so we can go play with bees all the time.
That's right. Actually, speaking of that, I got a call yesterday, and a gentleman has some bees in a camper. So we'll get to go out and do a cutout here, hopefully this week, I'm hoping.
Do a video. Make a video on that.
Yep, we'll absolutely do it, 100%.
So when we start doing some cutouts here this year, I don't know how many I'm going to be able to do because I'm a little bit short-staffed myself, but I'm hoping to be able to do a lot of them. We had several we did last year. I really enjoyed it. It was a great time. It was a learning experience for me in so many ways. And I pay attention to the way the bees do things in this somewhat, their own environment, right? Not a managed colony with, special frames and stuff just to see how they build the comb, where they build it at, where they stop building comb, how the entrance it faces, all that good stuff. So hopefully we'll still be able to do some of that here this year. And maybe we'll make a couple of videos off that too. And, if Melissa can, get some good editing software, Lee, then, and a nice camera, maybe she can, do a little bit of video editing there. Huh?
I uploaded 2 shorts today.
Okay. So I uploaded a couple shorts. So if y'all want to see the shorts, go to the Via Honeybees.
That's all that's on there though. 2 shorts.
It's
that's
limited.
it.
We have to start somewhere, right?
I was about to say it's a start.
Right.
Hey, Lynn, I appreciate that super sticker for $2. And I think you may be new to my channel. I'm just letting everybody know that any money that's donated to the channel, we're just going to do a drawing on a horizontal hive. I'm just going to take that money, build a horizontal hive with it, and give it away. We're already up to about $200, so I can't believe it already. But I did count Amber's cat money because we just went ahead and bought that for her. So I think our special guest may be here tonight.
Uh-oh.
Let's see. Oops.
We're gonna play tag.
Clickney. Well, if it ain't the swarm catcher here.
Yeah, I pulled you up, and actually the guy that had called me about it was able to find out about your channel now too. So
Cool.
That's awesome.
So he actually, the guy that called me about it, actually caught a swarm off a bush over there about a week ago, and then got a call from this guy again. He's like, "Hey, there's more bees. They're in my shed now, and we've had 2 days worth of rain." So I was like, "Well, they maybe took shelter in there." And nope, they actually had some wax belts, so they've been in there for a day or two.
Yeah, I thought you might see a little wax in there. So,
well, I actually helped the guy yesterday at his house, his hive swarm that we split, and they were about 5 frames to 6 frames worth of bees on his fence that I helped him remove at 8 o'clock at night in the rain. So that was fun last night too.
I bet.
So Matthew, you said that was about 3 pounds of bees that you had captured?
Yeah, probably about close to 3.
Okay. Nice size packaging, right?
Yeah, not a bad little start. And I kind of just placed them in our yard where actually I heard you talking about, Ricky, about that new hive. That's where I'm planning on putting it. So get them oriented at least close and check them out tomorrow as I move stuff around. And the bee yard, now it's going to be 70 degrees after 2 days of raining.
Right. So did you happen to find the queen there, Matt, or did you guys pretty much just put them in the box and go?
I put them in a box as it was getting late. They were on a one of the beams, and I just kind of was scooping and looking, but they were as hard as they were fanning when I got them into that nuke box. She was in there. They weren't trying to leave to go back up. So I had,
Awesome.
2 old comb frames, so gold inside the box. So they were happy.
Yeah, they probably need a little resources. So
those 2 frames that Lee posted the picture of you holding there, those are some pretty good looking honey frames there.
yeah, that was gorgeous.
I mean, particularly the one you're holding there. I mean, I only count just a handful of open cells up the very light edge over there. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that almost,
No doubt.
Yeah, we talked about keeping it for some of the honey show stuff, and I was just getting so irritated that day harvesting that I harvested it. But I should have kept it. My wife even told me that we should have.
So now, do you that looks like a medium frame? I'm guessing.
Yep.
Is that plastic foundation, wax foundation? What is that?
We do wax foundation.
Wax. Okay, gotcha. I know. Let's see. I had held out a couple this last year that I thought were, pretty doggone good. Like that one you're holding, I had a couple that were, almost flawless, right? Or I felt that way anyway. And then the problem is we actually keep plastic foundation in our, basically brood boxes and honey supers now too. But when we realized I was reading the rules at Nobby because I wanted to introduce it into the show there, you can't do it with plastic foundation. Specifically, I believe it has to be wax and or open.
I think they have 2 categories. One that's just wax or wired or plastic. I think they should have 2 categories if I remember right.
Oh, okay. Maybe I missed that then.
Yep.
But yeah, so I held up. I actually have both of them still downstairs. I haven't done anything with them. I hated to do anything with them because they look so good, but I know what's going to happen is they're going to get bumped or going to get messed up, and it's going to be all over at that point.
So not the Bee Expo, but Hive Life the year prior, I was actually able to win in the silent auction from a lady called Mary. Her name's Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
They're on Facebook, Marianne and Larry Sievers.
Oh yeah, Sears. Yeah, they're awesome.
Sears. So I actually have her frame display case, which is amazing, and such a great couple. They actually made me another one, so I could have 2.
Yeah, so interesting that you picked this up at Hive Life. Again, not Nabi last year, but the year before at Hive Life.
So that's where I got my first one, and then last year she made me one plus one for my wax bars for honey shows.
Okay, so that's interesting because I actually had messaged. I know that they had built one to raffle off, right, at Nabi, and I seen it there. And because I had already spent a fair amount of money, I'm like, I really wanted to bid on it because I really liked it. And then I'm like, no, because I really hated to bombard Ricky more with stuff that needed to be, I needed him to build because I knew he would just do it because I asked him, but I didn't want to put him in a pinch, right? So
instead he asked you to build him an observation hive, right?
I actually wanted to ask him to build the observation hive and to build me at least one for a honey frame, but I'm like, no, I know he's busy, and I didn't have the heart to ask him because I knew he wouldn't say no because he's the nicest guy you ever meet in the world, right? And so anyway, I didn't have him build that, but I reached out to Mrs. Sears and through Facebook, and I messaged her. I'm like, hey, I remember that this thing looked awesome, and I remember that I wanted it, but I didn't bid on it because again, trying to be a little bit conservative, right? And so anyway, the one that Steve won. Yeah. So Steve through Facebook, send me a picture of that. I want to see that because I remember it in my head, but I want to see a picture of it again. So I asked her, I'm like, hey, do you have a picture of what it was or any kind of a blueprint layout or what have you? And I thought she told me no. And I'm like, because I really want to build that thing, because it looked absolutely phenomenal. I mean, much like what Ricky would build, it's just top notch all the way. So sounds like you got one, Matt, or a couple. And it sounds like Steve won the one from Nabi here this last year.
Yeah, Dave wants to know, Matt, do you have any brochures for Hives for Heroes?
Yeah, I'm trying to join the chat right now so I can actually just share the link where they are located for everybody. In the meantime, everybody.
While he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and show some pictures here and kind of say we appreciate Matthew being on tonight for Hives for Heroes, and I've known Matt for quite a while now, and just a great all around kind of person. And I feel like Matt he likes to live life on the edge. And there's a photo of him. I guess this was you in the military. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, this was one of. We were actually on a detail to Israel, Jerusalem. It was actually a vice president detail, and then this was some of our off time that I was able to go visit Old Town. So,
and I think if I'm not mistaken, you really do a lot of dangerous stuff. You do a little scuba diving too, right?
We did. We actually got certified so we could take a trip to Hawaii and make the best of it.
Yeah. I'm a big scuba diver myself, to be honest with you. I like to do some scuba diving. You do some skydiving, is that right?
I did for a while, yep. I was a instructor for the military, and it's saying I failed to post. I'm a great,
computer guy.
Yeah.
It's all right. And Matt, like I said, you do a lot of dangerous stuff, but I think this last photo that Lee's going to show here is got to be the craziest thing I think anybody can do. Besides beekeeping, of course.
Can you find some bull riding stuff?
No, not quite. I think this is even worse than bull riding. You actually ref wrestling.
Yeah, I do, and I actually really enjoy it. I'll be up at Virginia Beach next weekend for a national event.
Yeah, and how do you take that with parents yelling and screaming at you, and you don't know what you're doing, and that's kind of be rough, right?
You actually learn how to just ignore them, and then at times you can get away with little snark comments back to them, but
just a little jab.
Great.
Yeah. So if y'all don't know, Matt, he's living his life completely on the edge as far as he can go. I mean, really, and then does beekeeping. So
yeah, yeah, I would say dealing with parents of that are a little bit wound up about something with their kid would be more dangerous than scuba diving or even skydiving, right?
That's what absolutely.
So I thought he was going to come.
He's trying to get that link up while he's doing that. So let's see.
See, I thought he was going to come across one of the videos of old me bull riding or something.
So you do some bull riding too.
It's been a while.
Maybe you need to post some stuff that you haven't done, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. He sounds like he's done everything. These military guys, they just do everything.
Just all in, right?
All in, 100%.
I tried talking my wife Melissa into years ago getting certified for scuba diving, and she was not going to have it. She's like, absolutely not, not going to happen. And I tried to talk her into it a time here or there, when we head down south and you taking a couple classes or whatever. Wasn't going to happen. So I just kind of gave it up. Said, well, it's just not in the cards for me, I guess.
The sharks know when I get in the water and they will eat me. That's all there is to it.
You're so sweet, Melissa. That's why.
I'm sure.
So yeah, Ricky, we only did our certification dives in Arizona, and then we did our 3 or 4 dives in Hawaii. We were actually getting out of the water on one of them, and they're like, hey, we just got a call. There's a what was it, a blue whale or something, one of the large whales, and so we were trying to chase it back down and find where it was so we could jump back in, and they're like, don't worry, it's only like the size of a school bus. And we're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome for our second dive.
Oh, absolutely.
But they couldn't find it, so I was like,
you didn't have a dive instructor like I had. You didn't know how scuba divers always got a knife on their leg strapped to them. You know what that's for, huh? A lot of people will tell you if you get stuck in a net or a rope or anything, you cut your way out. Our instructor told us, no, that's not what it's for. If you see a shark, you pull it out and stab your buddy next to you and swim the other way.
Don't have to be the fastest.
That's
right.
Exactly.
That's right. That's funny.
I couldn't get it to post in the StreamYard, but I posted it in the YouTube chat. I don't know if that helps.
That's fine.
Hey, Matt, do you see on the side where it says private chat?
Yep.
If you post it in there, then I can take it and put it in the comments for you.
Okay.
So, Matt, what kind of got you into beekeeping? I mean, you've done all this other stuff. What did just finally click in your head and says, man, I got to get some bees. My life's just not fulfilled without getting any honeybees.
So while me and my wife were in Germany, still getting ready to move back while we were stationed there, we started talking about, doing honeybees, doing, some chickens, just kind of more of the homesteading. And so when we got back, we jumped into it like we do everything else. And it grew. And then as we were getting ready to start, we actually found out that her cousin has a farm, or we knew he had a farm, but then that he would get bees, but farming would take over. So he had picked up his packages. We went over to help install them. And, we were so excited because we'd taken the class and had a couple trips with my mentor. And then he was like, well, pretty much take them over. Farming takes over my life. I don't have time to manage them. So we inherited his plus our nukes that we had ordered. And so it went from us having 4 to 15 by the end of the first year.
That's how it happens. You have intentions of doing 3 and you end up with 100.
Yeah. I thought you was going down on those hives there, Matt. Come on, man. What's going on?
Yeah. I have probably, of those 25 that we overwintered, I'm down to probably about 23. As a couple of, queens have given out this spring so far. And of those, probably a good 10 are going to be good production hives. The rest are just kind of hanging in there. And so, but I'll either just hold on to them for some resources right now till I can boost some other things and then feed them or sell some off here after a little bit. But
I'm sure some of your Hives for Heroes people would love to have a little colony too, and that's part of your program, right?
Yep. So this swarm will probably go to one of the newbies in the program. Once I check it out, make sure it's good to go. So hit them with OA after she starts laying, knock all the mites off her.
Mm-hmm. And you're running several different colonies, is that correct?
Yeah. So I've been kind of taking it on since one of our newbies in the area here is handicapped. I've kind of taken on the kind of role of just kind of finding accessible beekeeping. And that's actually initially how I came across you, Ricky, as I was exploring and learning different hives. So we have that now, that horizontal hive that you built for him that will rotate 45 degrees.
Yep.
Also be kind of testing out the keeper's hive, which will be fun. That was right there. That's a photo of a queen returning and missed the entrance the other day. So
crazy. That's wild.
She missed.
I'm sure she made it in there.
I put her in there.
Yeah.
I was able to see her, so it's good. So testing the keeper's hive to see how that can work for somebody that can't stand for a long time. Your hive will get some photos with James Dove and his the regional director here, and his Travis, his newbie that's going to be working that. Bearsville Bees has donated a couple hives to the program, so we're having those, for some of the people to try. A little bit interesting. Don't think it's going to be the perfect fit for somebody in a wheelchair. They're kind of deep and hard to pull out but we're adding like a wire loop so you can kind of maybe do it some one-handedly, a little bit easier. Just different things to look at. So it's become something that we wanted to tackle, and there's not a lot of resources and people out there that are kind of marketing to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, we need more hives for disabilities. I mean, Jonathan Bennett on here, he's got one of my rotating hives. But if we can figure out better ways to help people with handicaps, besides any just needing to get into the bees for these guys, but anybody with disabilities that we can help out is awesome. I mean, as a builder, that makes me feel great when we can do something like that for people.
I kind of like the idea of the Slovenian hives, the AZ hives.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the price point, I don't think, is there for a beginner or a veteran that may, be having other issues. So, waiting to see what we can do with that.
Yeah, you just need to get with the people that makes this stuff and say, hey, we need to help these people out. What can we do here? So.
Yep. I know we're really appreciate it, Ricky, for sure. Just waiting for James to get some bees in that thing and get him out there. So we'll get you some photos and some videos of that for sure.
And that means the world to me when I can see my hive being used by somebody else. It makes you feel good that you've done something to help other people out and they're able to use your product. So, and I think, if you don't mind, Matt, tell us about the Hives for Heroes program. Kind of walk us all the way through the process.
Yeah, so we are a national nonprofit. in all 50 states. We're probably have about 5,000 people total signed up right now. So we match up veterans and first responders that are interested in getting into beekeeping with a local mentor in their area, ideally within a 30-minute drive range. We ask, and if you follow the program correctly, we ideally that veteran or first responder has not gotten bees yet, and we want them to go to the mentor's yard and learn from them for their first year, and only invest in PPE. One, to actually ensure that's what they want to do is keep bees, since so many people either quit or fail during that first year. We want them to actually, decide, is this what I want to do? Second, we want them to learn from their mentor on how they keep bees. There is no wrong way. There may be better ways of keeping bees, but there is no wrong way. So if you're treatment free, if you're horizontal, if you're Langstroth, if you're layings, if you just do cutouts, like some of the guys that were at the spring conference, they donate a lot of hives or colonies to the program, and they've had people come out and learn from them. So there's no wrong way to learn, and then you figure it out yourself. So, but we ask them, the newbies, to learn from their mentor that first year, overwinter with them, and then the following year, the start of their second year, we ask if the mentor is able to donate a split, a cutout, a swarm to that newbie. They can either keep it in their yard there with the mentor or take it home, but we want them to continue to learn. If the mentor's unable to do that, you say if you only have 1 or 2 hives and you're interested in being a mentor, don't make that be your determination, because we can help you out as the program, because there's many people that want to donate colonies or donate equipment. So we can help for that for sure. We want that then now that newbie, that veteran or first responder, to work with the mentor that second year, as now they're keeping their own bees overwinter for that second year, and continue to grow in their third year and become a mentor themselves. So, they will overwinter together with the mentor by the first year, and then their own hives the second year, and then the third year they've done it now 2 years with their own bees, perfect world, and then become a mentor themselves. We do offer in the second year of the program a Be More grant, and last year we did $21,000 scholarships or grants to people that signed up, answered some questions, and was what the program's done for them, how it's affected keeping bees. And our board selected 20 people. They each got $1,000 to improve their apiary of maybe equipment, queens, bees, whatever bear fence, whatever they needed. Additionally, with that, we have also do reimbursement for our veterans and first responders of their master beekeeping fees. So a lot of states charge fees for testing or the classes. Go pay that fee up front, take the test, pass, send us the receipt for the class and your certificate saying you passed, and we'll send you a check back for your reimbursement of those fees.
Wow. So that's really awesome. I didn't know that you guys done that much. I mean, that's like icing on top of the cake. I mean, trying to help out the mentors, help the mentorees. Heather Murlock, the person you finally got me in touch with here in North Carolina, I took her out this weekend, and she had a blast in the bees. And it was kind of nice to kind of work hand in hand with our own county's mentoring program, because she's in classes there, learning a lot about beekeeping. So to be able to get her out in the bees and let her see how the bees are, and she just enjoyed it. She told me, she says it just allows her mind to get away from everything else. She's just in the bees. So she was a great lady. I appreciate you hooking me up with her. And anybody in the chat, you can go on this organization and get somebody and help them out. I mean, this is what beekeeping, I think, is helping other people.
Yeah, and feel free to, the website, or if you want to reach out questions to me, you can just NC@hivesforheroes.org, and I'll answer any questions for sure.
And so you're kind of the over North Carolina. Is that correct, Matt?
Yep, I took on the North Carolina as the state lead. So I'll travel to events here, or go to the different associations and give talks about the program, just trying to recruit numbers.
And how many people do we have in North Carolina right now? Do you know?
I think we're pretty close to 300. The last number, I'm going to see if I can grab it real quick. Let's see. I know I had it at the state meeting. Sorry, I don't have the number up top of my head for you.
Hope Sadler's got a question. Who's the lead in South Carolina? Do you know?
We currently do not have one. The questions can be sent to me or Charles McMaster can take them, and that's just connect@hivesforheroes.org. Also, I can paste that in the. But for the states that we don't have them, we try to cover down for each other and.
How many states don't have leads?
I think we are at like 26 states have them right now. It's just making sure we have the right people, and then finding actually people that are interested in doing it also at the same time. So what is one of the things nice about the organization is with us about 5,000 large right now, there's not a single person in the organization that takes a salary. So of the merchandise we sell or from the corporate, we do have some corporate hives down in Houston that sit on some corporate sites. That money that those companies pay us go to the beekeeper or the veteran that's actually managing them, and then go to those scholarships and reimbursement fees. So
awesome. And how long has this program been going on? It's not that old, right?
2008, if I remember right, is the date. So it took a little bit. It was down in Texas, Houston, Texas, is where it was founded, and then slowly grew. And then once the VA, University of Florida, Two Bees in a Podcast and then it kind of spread a little bit more from there. So it's been growing rapidly over the last kind of year and a half for sure.
And it's Steve that actually got that going. Is that correct?
Yep.
What's his full name, Matt?
Steve Jimenez.
Okay.
He was a Marine, and bees actually saved his life. He was, his story is pretty touching. He was on the verge of committing suicide, and bees saved, got him reattached to the community and, the relieving stress that the honeybees do for PTSD for sure.
Yeah. I think that's really good. I mean, that PS, can't even get it out. But,
PTSD.
Thank you. That's got to be rough, being in the military and what you guys have to deal with. And to get some stress relief has got to be great, whether it's, keeping bees or fishing or whatever it is, just get your mind off of it and get into something else. And there's something therapeutic about honeybees, that smell. It does something. It makes you feel good all over. It's almost like you're eating chocolate. You just feel a little bit better,
And it also keeps your mind sharp and having to think like on the spot. Like, how many times have you gone into your yard and have a plan, and you might as well don't even plan before you go out? You just wasted that time.
That's exactly right.
And then now you're making, decisions on the spot, and obviously it's not the same as combat, but it's you're having to make those decisions, and now, okay, what am I doing? And then you think about it, you're like, well, maybe next time I'll do something a little different, but you're like, well, I made that choice.
Yep.
So how long have you been the North Carolina lead guy?
So about two years now.
That's awesome. And I know there's a ton of people that come up and talk to you at the North Carolina conference. So you stayed busy the whole entire time you was there. So,
and that's great. Our big thing is bees are what's in common to get these, but we're big about our connection, giving that veteran or first responder somebody in their community that they can reach out to and talk about bees, or find they might have a resource about plumbing or whatever they might need to get over that whatever stressor that's they're dealing with. On actually another Facebook group, not even actually related to beekeeping, I started talking to a guy. It was an RV, where you can go and just spend nights at people's yards. He was like, "Yeah, we have bees," talking about his farm. And I was like, "Hey, have you heard of this program?" And so he ended up signing up as a mentor. Well, last year he ended up breaking his leg, and his newbie he was mentoring took over his yard for him, like 15 hives, and finished the season for him.
Wow.
Another awesome story where, like, you'd say, Ricky, your newbie, you were talking to her about, hey, sharing about bees, and you're like, hey, I'm looking at getting into smoking meat. Well, that person was like, hey, I already do that. That's one of my hobbies and pastimes. Here's how I do it, and here's a smoker to get them started. So there's been a lot of, and we've had individuals reach out to us. I know for sure in the 2 years I've been the North Carolina state lead, we've intervened and helped 2 people from committing suicide, for sure, that I'm aware of. So if we can save one life, we're doing something that is beneficial. So
absolutely, that's so awesome. I mean, again, giving a little bit of time can save somebody or mentally help them. You make that connection, and I think beekeeping is a lot of connection. Just like we're all on here tonight talking to each other. We lift each other up. We feel good. I feel better after I come on with my chats and get to be with everybody. So that's really what it's about,
Definitely.
And you guys were able to see it at Hive Life, and then the Bee Expo this year, just the community, and then you're able to bring somebody else into that community, and that's open arms and welcoming. And so
you guys are pretty much at probably every conference in each state. Is that pretty close to being correct?
We will go wherever we're invited. So we were at we put away the drama and everything. We were at the Bee Expo. We were at Hive Life. Mm-hmm. We'll go where we're invited, because we're not about what's going on. We're about serving that veteran and first responder. Mm-hmm. So we'll go where we're invited. I know in a couple weeks I'm trying to go to an event here with Veterans Farms of North Carolina to help do a field day. Another lady I know in the program, she's putting on a walk for suicide awareness. And I'll try to go to that. Here in Fayetteville, there's a lady, if you guys haven't heard, she's the founder, and she was one of the CNN heroes, Off-Road Outreach. She initially would drive around Fayetteville and kind of hand out hygiene kits a couple years ago, and one of the homeless ladies threw the kit back at her and was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And she's like, well, of course, shower. And she's like, well, with where and how? And it was kind of like, well, wow, like that makes sense. So she changed her Jeep so she can go around and set it up, and they can take showers. She also does Veggies for Vets there. And so this year, ideally, we're going to be trying to put a hive and work with the homeless vets on learning how to beekeep, and just, give them something to do. But yeah, she was one of the CNN heroes. She's an amazing lady. Stacy, she wasn't a veteran herself, but she ended up having a stroke with getting brain damage. And then also as she fell, she hit her head at the same time. So, but So she had 2 TBIs, but amazing, to collaborate with. So
that's really awesome, and you guys kind of connecting with other people, just like us, hey, this horizontal hive would be great for people. So, let's build something, let's do something. So those different organizations getting together and let's see how we can help people out or help vets out.
yeah, there's tons of programs out there, and it's just, but nothing else, just finding the resources. So even on our page, if somebody may not be interested in beekeeping, we have on our page there's a list of resources from the VA to different hotlines to different outreach programs. So feel free to share that with anybody that needs them.
Yeah, I think the worst thing for most people, and even me a lot of times, is just being alone. Not being with other people. Just kind of get yourself back away from everybody. If you can get those people moving and motivated to do something, whether it's any of these programs, is a great step in the right way. That was kind of when I got with Heather. You can tell that she's kind of a little more reserved than most people that I'm around. But, this kind of opened her up, and here we're talking to each other and finding things in common with each other. And, I get to do a lot of cutouts and stuff like that. She got interested in that and, doing splits, and she's going to get to see us raise queens. And it got her really excited. And that's what we need to do for these people in beekeeping is kind of get them in there.
Mm-hmm.
See, Spanky showed up tonight. Hey, Spanky, come on, brother.
Yeah, I finally made it.
You weren't off to the side 3D printing the whole house, were you?
No,
I just had to check. You're pretty talented with that stuff.
I don't have a printer that big.
so that's your dilemma.
Just piece it together.
That'd be a lot of pieces.
So, Beekeeping Bro asked me, what's the biggest horizontal hive I've built? Well, so far, the biggest horizontal hive I've built has been 6 feet. It's been 72 inches long. I think it held, gosh, I can't remember how many frames. It held a lot of frames. And the lady put 3 hives inside of it. My biggest goal is to build the longest horizontal hive in my barn and do a lot of my queen rearing in the top of my barn. I think that'd be really cool. I can keep all my equipment up there in the barn. And I think I'm going to try to put it in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest hive on record. So no one used my idea. I want to get this done first.
Now you're competing with Tom. Doesn't he have 100 frame?
Yeah, he's got like a double horizontal hive or something. Yeah, Tom's really got a lot of stuff. Yep.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, Tom's got me beat right now by a long shot.
How many hives do you have in that, Tom? Is it just what?
I think he's got little individual chambers. I can't remember how many hives he's got in there. How long did you serve in the military for, Matt?
I did 20 years and then retired.
Okay. And did you meet your wife there, or did?
I met her here in North Carolina when I was stationed here for some training, and then drove her around the countryside. So at the end, she asked while we were leaving Germany to come back towards her family and stuff. So that's how I ended up back up here in North Carolina.
Yeah, well, if you want to try to beat that record, go right ahead. Because if I get my way, it's going to be about 20 feet long.
You don't have it, Ricky, just wrap around the barn so you get to the corner and then it just keeps going around.
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's a perfect idea. Absolutely.
It'd be interesting to see how they build in that corner.
Yeah.
It'd probably be easier to build the longest leaf hive.
Yeah, you're right. Anybody got any more questions for Matt on here tonight? Anybody want to give him a hard time about kitchen swarms and not coming on to the channel tonight and being with us?
I think I clicked on the wrong link while I was out there. I was trying to go live out there, but I probably clicked on the YouTube one instead of the. Since you sent both of them to me, so I was clicking. I was like, hey, I could show it to them live as I'm catching this thing.
I tell you what, Matt, if someone had called me and said, "Hey, there's a swarm," I've been calling Lee and Tom. I'm like, and somebody, "Hey, you guys do the live. I've got to go catch this swarm." There's no doubt about it.
Especially if it came from one of your own hives, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting spring so far. So I know you guys were talking about some of the weather earlier. So it might be tomorrow, then this weekend we might see some swarm calls after this rain.
I think Tuesday it's supposed to be 70 up here. I don't know what y'all's temperature is down there, but I guarantee you, y'all will have some swarms down there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 70 tomorrow. So after 2 days of rain. Hey, Steve, there's probably about 5,000 signed up in the program, and we're somewhere about 2.5 newbies to 1 mentor right now nationwide. So good 2/3 of those are veterans or first responders. And some of those mentors are also veterans or first responders. So without having the numbers pulled up in front of me, I'd say a good, 3,000 are fall into that category.
Well, I tell you what, I love what y'all are doing. I think it's a great program. Again, I've got family members that are in the military, and I think them getting in the bee yard would be awesome if they would just take the time to get out there and be in it. And especially one of my cousins, I don't know, he kind of messed him up. I'll be honest with you, and I think that getting in the bee yard would maybe clear his mind out or make it a little bit better for him. So,
and yeah,
we appreciate that super sticker, Square Bee Honeybee Farms. We're going to put that on a horizontal hive, and who knows, we'll make it a rotating hive for somebody that needs it. So whatever anybody needs, we can definitely build that. It's not no big deal. So,
and yeah, Ricky, we obviously we appreciate everything that you've done for the organization to not just one being a mentor and stepping up, because that's a big commitment of time, but also the hives that you donated and just the willingness for sure is huge. So Morris Homestead, sign up as a mentor. How much experience? So we ask for 3 years of experience. However, if you don't meet that, email me. We can have a discussion. We can talk. I've had mentors as at 2 years, because there is people, if they dig into bees, honestly, somebody with 2 years experience may know a lot more book knowledge than some of our older beekeepers. Nothing against them, but it's also some of the hands-on stuff that we want to make sure that you understand and have gained. But yeah, nobody's perfect. Like probably everybody on this call, we're all still learning every time we go out there, and they'll show us something different. So, and add to that is, honestly, if you have a year or 2 years experience, you still know more than somebody that's never stepped a foot into a bee yard. So you still have something to share and for them to gain off of. And again, bees are just what's in common, that we're more about that connection piece and connection purpose, for those veterans and first responders.
So do you guys throw any kind of big Hives for Heroes party, Matt? Is that something we need to get together and get something going on?
So we're looking at trying to do like a camp outs and get-togethers. I know at the Bee Expo, I don't remember if you made it out. We took over Mission Barbecue there.
Oh yeah,
which was awesome. We completely filled their restaurant and just kept it flowing for a good 2 hours. So at events, we'll try have little places to get together where everybody can come and hang out. But yeah, we don't have anything official, here's a Hives for Heroes event yet, and we're not sure if we really truly want to get into all of that, because we we're not here to compete with the local associations and the conferences. That we just want to be that connection piece and within them. So,
Right.
But yeah, I know some of our Tennessee State League, Craig Midget, if anybody knows him.
Yeah.
He's not so midget. He's pretty tall, big. But he's been looking at maybe doing a test run of having like a veterans camp out for a weekend where it's camping out, barbecuing, and then a little bit of bees, but more of just kind of a hangout. So we'll see how that kind of goes and how that spreads.
Well, count me in if you guys do anything like that. I would love to take part in that, and whether it's camping or just getting together with other beekeepers, I'm all for that. And had some veterans in there, and we're definitely going to have some good times because, me and you went out to eat with a couple other guys while we was there and had a blast. Spanky was with us. Yeah, we had a blast being with you guys, and there's something about you vets that just can spruce up the conversation. So it was great while we was there.
And that's what it is. It's all about connection and, getting to know everybody. So,
yep, 100%. So, has anybody else got any questions before we try to jump off tonight?
Hey, Tom and Melissa, I know you guys were talking about cut comb. I'm going to be exploring some of that this year too. I've done Ross rounds. Best advice if you're going to do Ross rounds, that hive has to be on the verge of swarming.
Yeah, it's got to be the monster. Yep.
What we did is we let them do a box of honey first, and then since they were already building, then we put it on top.
Okay.
Because they need to be in that that mode of, hey, we're cranking stuff out.
Okay.
But yeah, packed and boiling bees.
Okay. Yeah, good advice. I think we're going to try that, not necessarily with the Ross rounds per se, but just doing cut comb frames and things like that. Just like you said, wait until they start putting them in a box, so they're kind of in that mode of action, and then throw one of those on there and let them keep hanging through it, so you can get the prettiest of frames.
So I was looking to see if I could find mine here, but we were able to get not last summer, but the summer before, best of show here in the North Carolina State Fair, and it actually placed second at Hive Life, and then second this last year at the Bee Expo, our Ross rounds. So
is there anything special that you have done inside that Ross round cassette? I guess that's what you might call it. I don't know if that's a proper term, but to stimulate them in any way, shape, or form, or just basically almost full of bee. So
yeah, just put that light foundation that they sell with it, and just that hive is just boiling with bees.
Okay, gotcha.
I did some hogs halves, and I put them on a colony, and they started putting drawing the cone out, and then they never got it done. It got later in the fall, and then I had another colony the next year. I tried on it's too weak, and they never got to do it. So it's got to be a very strong colony to get them to really work those the hogs halves. I know for sure.
I like to look at that Simply comb down at the Bee Expo. That looked interesting.
Yeah, that simple comb.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit tonight already.
It's interesting to see how that works out for people this year.
Yep.
But that simple comb was a little bit of an investment to, they weren't cheap. That was
the only thing. So we're going to try to do some of the cut combs, but because so we can do comb honey in the jars and stuff. But there's no way of really getting that out of that plastic without destroying it. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to try to do some other uses with it, or if they didn't fill it out, to cut it and to put it into jars. So that's kind of where I was like, I'm not quite too sure.
I'm telling you that having them draw comb in those mason jars worked out great for us last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hardest part of that was getting the bees out of the jars. But
did you guys do a starter strip in the bottom to heat it up and stick it to the bottom, or no?
Oh, I just melted some beeswax in the bottom of the jars and then put them on in the inner cover.
Okay. I've heard people taking a small piece of little starter and heating the bottom of either the wax or the bottom of the jar and sticking it to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just doubled just a little bit of beeswax in the bottom of each of those jars, and they went to town on it. So
Did you try to do a line, or did you just
I
do
just
a general?
just dribbled it in there. Yeah.
Is that what you did? Behemoth Bees is on here. He's done the same thing. Jason, did you do that? Just put some wax in the bottom of those jars? He's got a really good video on that. It's pretty popular.
But yeah. So when we did it last year, we just because we weren't thinking, you're like, okay, now how do we get these bees out of this jar?
Yeah.
So we literally we're out there just shaking bees
Yep.
out of the jar.
Yeah.
And so then later on that evening, I was thinking, I'm like, we should have probably just flipped the inner cover over so the jar opening is up, put a box over it, and then put in a skateboard over that, and then just let them work themselves out overnight. And then we wouldn't have had to,
Instead, it was almost dark, and I shook the bees out onto the hood of a white Chevy 2500 HD and let them crawl around on there. That's what I did. That was my escape, and it took about, I don't know for how many of them.
We did.
There was a dozen of them. It probably took me 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, like 15 minutes, a half hour.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
The bees were really happy with us while we were doing it too. So
well, I mean, they weren't coming at me. I didn't have any protective gear on. I just, there, they were fine. Wonder why they were being banged out of their own home.
Yeah, I think if you take that, if you had an inner cover or something else, you can just kind of make it dark inside the jar. They're going to come out. And,
yeah. We'll try a different technique this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty right there. Where was that at, Lee? Where'd you get that photo from?
That was from Jason of Bohemian Bees.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that stuff sold so fast too.
It did.
I think we did. What was that? A pint-sized jar that we did?
Yeah, I believe it was
pint-sized jar, and then we'd fill it with liquid honey, and I think I sold those for $18 a piece, just because I didn't know how well it would go.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely charged more this year for it.
Yeah,
but
people love seeing it in that comb, and I can remember
so pretty.
My great grandfather's house, and they having a jar of cut comb on the table, and us digging it out and chewing it like gum, and I always wanted to go to their house just because they had that kind of honey there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cut comb is one of our goals this year.
Dawson's down in Georgia. I wonder if I bet he's seen some swarms down there where he's at.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Wow. What Jason says right here is pretty cool.
Is that just the comb in the jars, Jason? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Sell for $25.
Wow. And I think that's pints, probably.
Wow. 36 to 45 of them in a week.
Wow. You guys got to get another horizontal hive, Tom.
I know, right? I've got 3.
Yeah, we got 3 of them.
The problem that I have right now is where I put them in my backyard. You remember last year in March, I think it was, or February, before I really cranked out my season really hard. I was building a couple of small stone planters in the back that I put them on. Well, I only have 2 of those planters. I need to build at least 1 more down there, and that takes a little bit of time to do. It takes a good few days by the time I get all this stuff in place to do. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to part of that here this year, being a little bit short staffed or not.
Look at me like you're going to quit your day job, Tom, and just do beekeeping.
Yeah, I don't know. I did that years ago when I started a landscaping company. I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to do that. Be nice if we could just find more employees,
Yeah. Probably some good, reliable employees is probably what you
that is. Yes, that's true.
Well, Ricky, you got a dog. It might help you a little bit.
Well, I got my daughter to get into beekeeping with the dogs, so maybe this will work out.
There you go.
For now.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it for the night. Matthew, I appreciate you coming on, brother. It's been great having you on here, and I appreciate what you guys do. And I know that me and you are going to have a lot of correlation with each other down the road here, just because of, I want to help out in any way that I can with your all's organization. Plus, you're just a great dude to be around, and I enjoy that. So, but I appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. You guys are awesome, as always, for coming and listening to us talk a little bit about beekeeping. And, my wife keeps slapping me in the head. She says, got to tell everybody, God bless you. So, everybody, God bless. And we'll see you next Thursday.
Hey, Ricky, everybody remember what this weekend's for, too. So
that's right, brother. Appreciate you. Yep, 100%. Y'all have a good one.
You guys, too.